Do you have problems with your tibialis anterior but don't have access to specialized equipment? This video is for you. Keep watching. The tibialis anterior is a muscle that is responsible for ankle dorsiflexion. Now, it's not the only muscle that does this, but it's one of the biggest main ones that will contribute to ankle dorsiflexion. When this muscle is overworked, it could cause issues like anterior shin splints, which is basically pain along the front of your shin. And it usually occurs as a result of its function in shock absorption during activities like running, jogging, hell, even walking or skipping can aggravate it as well. The tibialis anterior is actually found along the front of your shin, and injury to this muscle can actually occur with repetitive microtrauma or repetitive overuse of this muscle group. Strengthening this muscle is actually really easy to do if you have tools like the tib bar and isotib. But what if you don't have access to these great pieces of equipment? Well, today's video is going to show you some alternative exercises that will actually work on strengthening up this muscle group so that you could increase its ability to tolerate load, so that you can resume the activities that you used to love and do. The main intention of doing strengthening exercises is so that you could actually increase the capacity of your tibialis anterior muscles. And this is so that it can actually handle those activities like playing sport, and that those activities like playing sport is actually relatively only a fraction of what your actual muscles can handle. This is why that you might find that exercises like stretches don't actually help, because stretches don't actually do anything to increase your capacity. Stretches just help to increase the range of motion. Stretches for the tibialis anterior actually increase the opposite direction, which is plantar flexion, but that's another video for another time. Before we get started into our exercises, there are a few things that you have to keep in mind. The first thing is that it takes around 3 to 4 months for this condition to fully resolve. That means you're not thinking about this muscle that much anymore when you do your activities like running, jogging, or playing sport. And you could get better in 3 to 4 months with consistent exercise rehab. This being consistent week to week throughout that 3 to 4 month process. The second thing that you want to think about is that you need to do what we call relative rest, which is rest from aggravating activities. This means that yes, you might have to modify how far or how long or how much running or sport you play. It might mean you have to stop temporarily to give your shins an opportunity to just recover and strengthen. This doesn't mean that you have to stop doing those things that you love forever. You just might have to take a short break, and you can start to reintroduce those activities as your shins start to level up and as they can handle a little bit more and more. The third thing that we want to think about is that most people, when they feel their symptoms fully resolved, that they go back into playing the sport full throttle. But if they weren't doing enough work to condition their muscles to handle that, it might be too much right away. So you want to start to slowly dose the frequency of doing those activities so you can handle it without overstressing those shins. The fourth thing you want to think about when it comes to doing these exercises is that you're not going to be doing these exercises every day. The reason is because you need to give your muscles a break to recover and strengthen. Just like any strengthening exercise that you might do in a conventional gym, you need to give it at least 48 hours for it to recover. What that means is you'll be doing these strengthening exercises about 2 to 3 times a week with a full day of rest for those shin muscles in the days in between. If you're already exercising and you still want to continue running or playing sport, you have to take this into consideration, because you can't be doing shin strengthening one day and then running the next and the shin strengthening the day after, because you're just not going to give those shins enough rest. Instead, it might be better to program doing these strength training exercises on the same days as your run and modifying the amount of running that you're doing or modifying the amount of strengthening you're doing for that day so that you can actually do both. If you need more specific programming when it comes to continuing doing those activities and doing the strengthening exercises, it's best to consult your physiotherapist or chiropractor near you. If you're in the GTA, you could come to one of our Rehab Hero clinics located in Markham and North York. Okay, without further wait, we're going to get into our first exercise, which is the banded ankle dorsiflexion exercise. So this exercise, you're just going to take a monster band just like this and loop it around something solid. You can do this exercise while sitting on the floor, but we're just going to do it while we're sitting on a bench. The first thing you're going to do is loop that band around your heel, cross it around the top of your foot so that it forms an X, and then you're going to kind of take a seat back. From here, you're going to let your ankle go into full plantar flexion. And this is so that we could work the whole entire range through ankle dorsiflexion. Ankle dorsiflexion is actually the process of getting the top of your foot closer to your shin. So as I'm dorsiflexing my ankle, my toes point towards the ceiling in this position. You can hold this top position for up to 2 seconds and then slowly lower your foot back down. And the goal is to do at least 20 repetitions if you can. If you can't, because it hurts too much, stop a few reps short of feeling pain. If the full range of motion is a little bit painful for your ankle or your shin, just do half repetitions or quarter repetitions if necessary. You just want to work a pain-free range of motion for this exercise. A little bit of discomfort might be experienced while you're doing this exercise, especially if you have issues with your tibialis anterior. As long as that pain doesn't exceed a 2 out of 10 threshold, chances are you're not going to be doing something harmful towards your ankle or shin muscle. But if it does persist, if the pain persists, it's best to consult your healthcare professional. The great thing about doing this banded exercise is that as your shin levels up, you can use a heavier and heavier band by just upgrading the thickness of the band, or simply by going a little bit further away from the anchor point so that there's more tension on your foot and ankle. Next, we're going to do an exercise that will require some wall space. The next exercise that we'll be doing is called a wall lean tib raise. Now for this exercise, we're going to use something like a slant board to help keep our heels elevated. All this will do is give us a little bit more range of motion to work with, since we'll be starting with plantar flexion. But if you don't have that, you could do this exercise just leaning against the wall from the floor as well. This version is just going to be a lot easier for you to do, but I'll show you an upgraded version that's going to target your tib ants super hard. So first, we're going to start by standing on the slant board. Right now I have it at about like a 15-degree slant. You could go higher as you get stronger, but I often find this is a pretty good starting point. From here, keep your bum against the wall. You can lean forward with your hands on your knees if you need that extra stability. I'm just going to lean back with my upper body. From here, I'm just going to raise my toes up off of that slant board as high as it can go. And we'll go back down. Now, just like that last exercise, since the tib ant usually functions as an endurance muscle, we're going to go for high repetitions. Ultimately, we're trying to hit failure with this exercise. If you find that the bilateral tib raise is super easy, you could go unilateral, and trust me, this is going to make it mega hard. So from here, you could do the exact same exercise, getting that tib ant engaged, and I'm actually like really struggling to get more than a few reps out of this. So if that's the case, you could just go do that exercise from the floor and do a single leg tib ant raise, and you're going to really feel this engage that tibialis anterior as well. If you want to progress this exercise, another way you can do is you just get this slant board a little further away from the wall, and you're going to go on it with your heels once again. This time you could load up a little bit more weight onto your tib ant by leaning onto your legs and doing the exact same exercise. So this will load it up a little bit more as you're putting more body weight on that tib ant, as opposed to using the wall to support your back. So the next budget option when it comes to strengthening your tibialis anterior does require something like a kettlebell. So a lot of you might have this already at home. If not, you could run off to a place like Winners or Canadian Tire and pick up a kettlebell as well. And the other thing is we want to start in an elevated surface, so you could just use your stair step, hold onto a wall for extra balance if you need. But what you're going to do is you're going to actually loop your foot through the hole of that kettlebell. Make sure your shoe can fit when you're buying a kettlebell. You don't want to be doing this exercise barefooted because the handle of the kettlebell can be a little harsh on the direct surface of your skin. So I do recommend wearing shoes when you're doing this exercise, unless for some reason your kettlebell is super padded. So what we're going to do is we're actually going to start by actually supporting the heel on the edge of your stair step or plyo box if you have one like me. And you're going to make sure you extend your toes so that they're always facing the ceiling. This is just going to act as a hook to maintain the kettlebell in place. From there, you're going to just go down into ankle plantar flexion. So you can see that my toes are still pointing up so that it can act as a shelf. And then I'm just going to pull it all the way up into ankle dorsiflexion. So you're going to see that one more time, coming down, and then you're going to pull it all the way up, and you're going to feel these shin muscles burn and engage. You'll hold that for about 2 seconds before you repeat another repetition. Now for this, because it's kettlebells, if you need to progress this exercise, you either increase the weight or you just do more repetitions. Generally speaking, just like all the other exercises, we're going to be aiming for about 20 repetitions or more, depending on your current physical limits. All right, everyone, that sums up my video on the tibialis anterior and budget exercises that you can do to strengthen that muscle group. If you're new to my channel, be sure to click subscribe. If you want to see a part 2 to this video with some more advanced exercises, please let me know in the comments below. Otherwise, I'll see everyone next time. Peace.